Okay, so I don't know what happened. Maybe you just watched House Hunters on TV, or your friend just called you and it's December and they're in Florida in shorts and you're somewhere else looking at snow or in cold weather, and you know it. It's time to go. It's time to go and enjoy Florida. And listen, in this video, we're going to talk all about some tips and tricks to make a smooth transition down this way. So if moving to Florida is something that you're interested in, I think this is a video that you're going to want to hear. Hey, so making South Florida home is something that a lot of people talk about doing and want to do, but never end up doing. I know that my wife and family and I wanted to come down to Florida for a while before we ended up making the decision. You know, so many people see a show or talk to a friend or whatever and it sounds good, but they never make that leap and they stay wherever they're at. And listen, anytime you move, it's a tough thing to do. But I think Florida presents some really unique challenges. One of the reasons is because there's so many great places to go. But we're going to dive into some tips and tricks that can make this decision process easier for you. So listen, if this is your first time visiting us, my name's Andy Johnson. I'm with the Andy Johnson Group at eXp Video, and we are all about making great videos for you to make it easier for you to move to Jupiter and the surrounding area. And listen, we have people just like you calling us every day that want to make South Florida their home. So whether you're coming today, tomorrow, next week, or you want to make a move next year, make sure you get a hold of us now so we can get you all the information that you need. All right, and listen, you can find all our information down below. Just click the button. It's got our phone number. There's a link, anything that you want to do. But let's dive back into the important stuff. Let's get into it. What do you need to know when you're coming down to Jupiter, or really South Florida in general? So anytime somebody tells me they want to come down here, the first thing that I tell them is to try and eliminate some areas geographically about where you want to come to. Listen, sometimes I have people call me and say, you know, I want to move to Florida. I'm looking at the East Coast, the West Coast, and I appreciate that. I do. You know, truthfully, when my family moved down here, we went down the East side, we went down the West side and decided where we wanted to go. That's where we started our decision as well. That's a really, really big search area. There's so many cool places to live that I would potentially suggest that what you gotta do in the beginning is start to eliminate. You know, pick west side of Florida or east side of Florida, north or south, and you're going, Andy, how do I make those decisions? Well, you need to start looking at what's important to you. Why are you coming down here? You know, you coming for a job, you coming to retire, you know, you coming for your kids, or you coming for golf? Do you want to be on the beach? You need to really examine what's bringing you to Florida and what's going to be the most important to you. You know, so many people come strictly for the weather, which is another good thing. But I got to tell you, folks, North Florida and South Florida, you can have, you know, the average temperature differential can be, you know, 10 degrees or more on any given day. And hey, the difference between 50 and 40 or 60 and 50, that's significant. So you really got to identify what you want. But, you know, by doing that, it's going to get you closer to what's going to make you really, really happy. So some questions, like I said, that I really think that you should consider asking yourself are, what's bringing you down here? You know, proximity to the beach. Do you really need to be close to the beach? Travel, you know, how much do you travel? How close do you need to be to airports? You know, how close do you need to be to shopping? How many people do you like around you? Do you want a more populated area or a less populated area? That's another big one that people forget to consider sometimes. And I think that those are a couple of good things that are, once you decide those, will really kind of eliminate some places in Florida and make some decisions easier. But let's say you've done all of those things and now you've decided, you know what, we do. Jupiter and the surrounding, that's where we want. Well, again, we have to eliminate more. You know, starting in Jupiter to Cuesta area and going down south to Miami, I mean, it's kind of like one big city, and finding exactly what you want is what we need to do before we even think about looking for a home. So again, it's time to start eliminating some things and seeing what makes the most sense for you. Activity level, again, proximity to shopping, proximity to airports, all of those things are going to become super important. So again, we can pull some areas out and really start to hone in on what's going to make you super, super happy, okay? Okay, so Now that we've done that and we've decided, all right, you know what, maybe we're really focused on Jupiter, you really like Stewart up in Martin County, and hey, you want to take a big leap, or not a big leap, but you also want to look at something a little bit farther south and you want to look into Boca. One thing that I think is super important, and if it's a resource to you, you should absolutely use, is to talk to your friends and family who have lived in the area, because I'm telling you, there are nuances to the populations in all of these areas as far as, what the feel is, what the activity level's like, what the nightlife is like. If you're, part of the older population, maybe 55 and older, if you've got families, if you're younger in your 20s and you're looking more activity, family can really guide you there. And obviously you've got a certain trust level. Now, we'd love to help you with that too. And we're very familiar with why a lot of people choose a lot of different places. So feel free to ask us as well. Another important thing, really, when you're looking at Florida as a whole, and then kind of as you're bringing it down too, is to really kind of examine the cost of living. Listen, when you come to South Florida and Palm Beach County specifically, Palm Beach County, really Broward and Miami-Dade, you have to want to be down here because you are going to pay more to live here. It's as simple as that. If you want more bang for the buck, listen, there are some great places to live in Florida that I can tell you all about, but this probably isn't going to be the one. As a matter of fact, a couple other great areas where you get a little bit more bang for the buck here are going to be up in Stewart, Palm City, and Port St. Lucie, which we help people with and are awesome options. But also there's some spots on the West Coast, some spots farther north where, seriously, if it's more about the house, you're okay with a little bit cooler climate, you don't have any friends or family, and you can go farther north, your money will go farther other places. There's something special about down here, and definitely reason that, I love it so much, but that's something that you absolutely have to know about. So let's go on to another tip. Another tip that you got to know is what you're looking for in the community itself. So let's say now that we've picked Jupiter, Boca, and Delray, or wherever we're at, it really doesn't matter. It's what type of community do you want? Because we've got a lot of different options here. I've mentioned in other videos before, I'm from the Midwest. I'm not from Florida. And in the Midwest, where I'm from, we didn't have a lot of homeowners associations. There were very few, as a matter of fact. I think there were like 3 or 4 in the city that I lived in, and they were all attached to golf courses. Here in South Florida, homeowners associations are more common than not. So you need to decide first if that's something that you want or you don't want, and also if you want to take that up another level and maybe consider a membership equity community, also called a country club community, where you're required to be a member of a country club, which has some awesome aspects to it if you're up for something like that. If you do want to live in an association, specifically, what are you looking for? Do you want it to have a community pool? What kind of feel are you going for in the community? Something super active, or maybe something a little bit more private? Do you want something gated? Do you want it to have a fitness center? You want it to have a restaurant? You want to be able to walk places? All of those things. And when I say walk place, I'm sorry, I mean walk places inside of the community, because we get into some communities that are like mini cities. I mean, they actually have communities within the community. So that feel that you want is very important. Kind of deciding what of those aspects are important to you is great. Maybe you don't want an association at all. You're an individual that wants to be able to do whatever they want with their property, whenever they want to do it, and the neighbors don't get to say boo about it. If that's you, we've got that too. You just have to decide what's important for you. And hey, side note, folks, just a reminder, we make these videos for you. So if you haven't yet, go ahead and click subscribe, click like, that way you're notified anytime that we post new content. And listen, I'd love to hear, if you wouldn't mind, what are some of the trials that you've had when you've made moves before? What's been really difficult for you, or what were some mistakes that you made, that you wish you had had somebody to tell you, so that, hopefully we can help other people avoid those mistakes in the future. All right, so let's move on to the next thing. All right, so another little tip and trick. A lot of people come down here, this tends to be on, more towards the snowbird side, or the people that are gonna have these as second homes, and they rent for a while. They rent for a month, 2 months, or 3 months, or 4 months even, our entire season, and figure out where they wanna be. They start doing open houses and looking at neighborhoods. One thing that we do for quite a few people when they come down, maybe on vacation, they don't even want, they don't want to see us. They're not ready to hook up with us. They don't even really want to see a home, but they want a better idea. I've done a lot of tours for people before where I just give them neighborhoods or geographical destinations to drive to that kind of give them a better feel for the area. And that's another great thing to do to kind of get your feet wet. It does lead into, guys, I mean, obviously, you know what I do. I think I'm with the Andy Johnson Group, eXp Realty. I sell houses. So I think realtors are important, and I'm one of them. I think we're imperative, as a matter of fact. And whether you work with us or you find another great agent down here, whatever, but make sure that you partner up with somebody that really knows the areas, knows about the application processes, knows about the pitfalls, knows about condo docs, knows about how to navigate our contract to get you the best deal, and make sure that you're in a neighborhood that makes sense for you. And listen, if you're not here and you're somewhere else in Florida, really anywhere in the country, we've got plenty of great partners, but partner yourself up with somebody that really knows that's what's going on. Listen, at the end of the day, I know I've probably been a little bit all over the place in telling you what you need to do to make this process easier, but there's really just a couple things, really one thing, and that's information, information, information. The more that you can gather up front, the better that this process is going to be. And when you gather that information, really what it's going to allow you to do is start to eliminate some choices. And that's gonna make your life easier. Because what I gotta tell you is one thing we don't have a shortage of down here is choices. I've said this before too, whether you want a condo, a villa, a townhouse, a single family home, a mansion, on the water, not on the water, on the golf course, out in the middle of nowhere. We don't have as many of those, but they do exist. But we've got everything that you want. So it's about figuring out through the process of elimination kind of what you don't want, so that we can really, really hone in on what you do and get you into a really great place that makes sense for you. And that's what my team and I really like to do. I can't get enough of when somebody moves into a home, especially when they're not already from here, and we talk to them a month later and they are just absolutely thriving. I mean, they love it. Not just their home, they love the community, they love the stores around, they love their daily life because we've placed them in a spot that was just right for them. And listen, that's what we want to do for you. So if you have any questions, anytime, please reach out. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you get down here and move into Jupiter and enjoy the magnificent beaches. And I hope we get to see you. Thanks a lot.